Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. What happened in the last 48 hours, guys? It seemed like we were going to get Igor Tudor to coach us, and then De Laurentiis decides to put us into the metaverse, man, and bring us back Walter Mazzarri, guys. What is this, man? And this live is not so much about me expressing myself on Walter Mazzarri. I want to know your opinion about Walter Mazzarri. And I've got a new graphic where I can put comments, your comments on the big screen so that you guys know which one I'm referring to. I can remove them, I can take them back on. It's it's crazy how this took me literally 10 years, man, to figure this out. But we move. Whilst I move forward with technology, De Laurentiis, man, he goes back and gets Walter Mazzarri, guys. So that's, yeah, that's something, right? So let's see what you guys are saying, guys. Lord Foxtrot is saying, is this a joke? L.K says, was just waiting for you, Dom. Really wants to know about your thoughts on ADL's trickery. Yeah, guys, it's incredible, right? That this is happening to us. And I think the main reason why this is happening is because De Laurentiis must have something. He must have something lined up for the summer where he must think that maybe Igor Tudor didn't want to sign for just 7 months, whereas Mazzarri, yes. So yeah, it's a crazy it's a crazy world we live in, guys, where Mazzari is our coach yet again. WDT says very happy that Igor didn't come in. This is a blast from the past. All 62-year-olds will look up to this man. Guys, Igor Tudor, look, I put out a video yesterday saying how it was a risk. He plays three at the back, this and all that, and then Mazzari comes in, who also plays three at the back. Mazzari, though, did say that he studied Spalletti's side very well, that he knows how they play by heart, which is already an encouragement compared to, for example, Garcia, who said that he didn't know what this Napoli team was about. I mean, imagine that publicly stating that you don't know anything about this Napoli team. So yeah, um, this is interesting, guys. This is interesting. Marcelo Bruno says, "I'm at work and it's 7:22 here in Adelaide. I'll be tuning in and already smash that like button. Show starts in 32 minutes time." Yeah, you guys came in early. Uh, I know you wanted a video, but this is not a democracy. Yeah, guys, I know that I put out a poll both on Twitter and on Instagram about whether you guys wanted a video or a live. In the end of the day, guys, I really want to know your comments. And I thought we have the international break now, 2 weeks. Mazzari has time to settle in. We probably are going to have the press conference sometime soon. So I'm just going to save my video on Mazzari until we just get a bit more information about it. I just kind of want to know your hot reactions right now to all this stuff. I want to shout out to Napoli 41482. Thank you, man, for the super chat. It says Mazzari is one of the best managers Napoli has ever had in recent memory. I'm faithful in this decision, guys. Believe in Mazzari. And you know what? I think that he's got a lot going for him. You know what? I'm gonna say my opinion on him. I'm just gonna get a bit more of your opinions up here. Payman Dadgar is instead on the other side of the spectrum, and I'm glad he's joining the live. Not only because he always supports, man. I'm gonna have to fly out to meet you and offer you a few beers or something. Mazzarri worse than Garcia. This is all about cost saving as we have two coaches on the books. Adiele unfit to lead the club. No coach lined up for next year. Guys, this is the other side of the spectrum, right? Where basically, uh, like, this is the side where you believe that Mazzarri can't inject anything useful into this Napoli team. Basically, this is the opinion of people that think that Napoli's problem is 100% tactical. Um, I I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like Mazzarri could transmit motivation to these players. Now, how much motivation is actually useful in today's game or for a team like this that has so much talent? Maybe you need someone that tactically puts them in a better um, system rather than just motivating a bunch of average players. But I do feel like these players do lack a little bit of motivation. Um, I think Garcia didn't connect well with the city, between the club, the fans, the city, the journalists. Mazzarri could be a nice glue um, to bring all the pieces back together. He can transmit a bit of Napoli's history to these players who made Napoli history themselves, but he can remind them about what it really means to play for Napoli, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think maybe these players need reminding of that stuff, but I think they do need I think they do need a bit of a father figure after Spalletti left. And I tweeted this as well earlier today. I feel like they lost a bit of a father figure when Spalletti left, and Mazzarri, who's been there, done that, knows the club well. Maybe he can be that kind of person for him. Anthony Navarro says, "Hey guys, I won't be able to be at this live, but Rudy Garcia already ruined everything. We wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't his fault. We suck. Gonna be interesting." You know what? I've been thinking it's not even Rudy Garcia's fault, right? I mean, he did the points average that he's always done throughout his career. The famous 1.75 points per game, which basically means that you win one, you draw one, you lose one. That's pretty much what that means, right? That's kind of his thing, right? He's just doing what he's always been born to do. The fault is more maybe to De Laurentiis. Why are you putting in this guy there in the first place? It's like getting mad at a fish for not knowing how to climb a tree. No, get mad at the zookeeper who's telling a fish to climb a tree, right? But yeah, now we're with Mazzarri, whether you guys like it or not. That's the thing that I said in yesterday's video as well. Whilst this summer we could have made a decision and then fixed it after 2 or 3 months, like it's happening now, this decision we got to keep for 7 months until June. There's no way we're getting a third manager. So yeah. Anthony Navarro says it's my birthday. Happy birthday, man. An OG of this channel. Marcello Bruno says just announced Salvatore Aronica will be on the team of staff. Yes, Salvatore Aronica, man. Someone that knows how to defend. Guys, Salvatore Aronica is crazy, man. He was just vibes out there on the field. Vibes, the type of vibes that the Katsima, that we talk about, Grinta. I remember his tackle on Didier Drogba in the Champions League in the first game at the San Paulo. Man, that tackle on Drogba, who was at the time the best striker in the world, was crazy. If you think of where Aronica came from. Jesse says, I mean, still better than Garcia. I think anything is better than Garcia at this point. We will come back. Aaron says somehow we found a manager even worse than Garcia, guys. That's I mean, I don't think it can be worse than Garcia. Come on. Come on. I mean, Garcia, you have to also consider, guys, the run of fixtures that we had with Garcia were simple. We faced a Milan side that's maybe the worst in the last 4 or 5 years. A Lazio side who, as well, is maybe the worst in 4 or 5 years, and then basically no big other teams, no no other big teams, and then just really average teams, middle of the table, and we still couldn't convince. So if Garcia was gonna face Inter or Juve or someone a bit more tough, then he would have probably lost those games. So I think the fourth spot, him leaving when we're in fourth spot, is actually, it's gonna look good on his CV compared to what it could have been if he stayed for another 3 or 4 games. Vincenzo Bertillo says, I studied Pavarotti singing, but for some reason they won't debut me at La Scala. Guys, I get it. You can't just claim that you've studied someone's style and then that means that you're able to adopt it. I mean, we're not gonna pretend like we're gonna play Spalletti style, right? That's not gonna happen. Otherwise, it's too easy. Otherwise, every manager would study Spalletti and just copy him. No, it's more about, at least what is Kvara's best position, what's Osimen's best position, how they would ideally like to play, what worked, what didn't work. Then whether you can actually put it into practice is a different story, right? But I feel like Garcia didn't even know what some of these players needed to do. He thought Anguissa was a box to box midfielder, whereas with Spalletti, Anguissa was someone that was able to run into spaces, get himself into the box. We've never seen that with Garcia. Now, I wouldn't know how to make that happen for Napoli if I was on the bench, right? I wouldn't be able to tell Napoli how to do 30 passes to make that work. But at least I know, hey, if I can get space for Anguissa to get into the box, then I'm gonna try to exploit it, no? Whereas maybe that thought hadn't even entered Garcia's mind. So maybe there's something there that Mazzarri could do. Antonio, he won Coppa Italia with Napoli. Why is nobody happy with this choice? Yeah, guys, first time in Champions League in 22 years. Coppa Italia. Guys, you have to remember his team was Campagnaro, Cannavaro, and Aronica at the back. Like, it's crazy what he accomplished with Napoli. Before Sarri, he had the record for most points in Napoli, 72 points or 78 points, one of the two, either 72 or 78 points. I think I can't remember which one it is, but second place. There was a bit of a title run with Milan when he was there, maybe not till the final few games, but around January, December time, it looked like it was going to be between Napoli and Milan. And I'm pretty sure that if he didn't win a Scudetto with Napoli, it's simply because De Laurentiis didn't support him enough in the winter transfer markets. And then after his third season, they sell Lavezzi. They try to replace him with Edu Vargas and Mascara, and it's like, guys, like, this guy still managed to work with that, and there was Pandev as well, but I mean, he still managed to work with that. Then they wanted to sell Cavani, which they did, and that's when Mazzarri said, "Thank you very much. My job here is done." But I mean, he did a lot with this team. I mean, guys, Gargano, come on, come on. Uh, Rumor is Tudor wanted a 2-year contract only. Mazzarri contract only until June 2024. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Tudor, he's a young coach, 45 years old. He wants a project. He wants a team to build with. This was something that De Laurentiis was not comfortable doing because it seems like he's got someone else lined up afterwards. Vano says, I loved Walter's Napoli back then, but he is not good enough to take this job. I'm also sure he learned nothing from the past. Diego says, I reckon Mazzarri may be able to win us the Coppa Italia once again. Also, do you think De Laurentiis will want to do the Supercoppa in Saudi Arabia? I mean, it seems like that whole debate about him going or not to Saudi Arabia, I feel like that's settled now. So we'll end up going. Guys, if we, guys, real talk, if we win the Coppa Italia this year, uh, and we get fourth spot, I'm signing that. Give me pen and paper right now. I'm signing that. Like we're 10 points away from Inter. Realistically, we're not gonna win the Serie A unless Inter drop a bucket load of points. And if we can add a Coppa Italia, guys, I mean, we used to come from 22 years without winning a trophy before Mazzarri. We've been getting spoiled, but even in the not so distant past, before Gattuso, we had gone 6 years without a trophy. We went from 2014 to 2020 without a trophy. So in the last 3 years, yes, we've won a Coppa Italia, we won a Scudetto, but it's not like we suddenly turned into Real Madrid or Manchester City that we're winning or we're expected to win every single year. If we can add one or two pieces of silverware every 12, 18 months, that would be fantastic for a club like Napoli. That's basically what Inter have been doing in the last 4 or 5 years. It's not like they've won the title every time. They won a Coppa Italia, they won a Scudetto, they go get another Coppa Italia, they win a Super Cup, but it's not like every year they're getting a Scudetto, right? When is the next training session? Tomorrow. Mazzarri will turn Osimhen into prime Cavani. I think it's going to be super interesting, guys, to see the difference between Osimhen under Mazzarri and what was Cavani under Mazzarri. It'd be interesting to see if maybe not this season because he's never going to make the comparison, but who knows? 5 years later, when Mazzarri is no longer coaching Napoli and maybe neither is Osimhen at Napoli anymore, it'd be interesting to hear Mazzarri say what he thinks of both players, having coached them, and tell us who he thinks out of the two is the most talented, because he would be the only person in the world that would actually know how both of those players are as a manager day in and day out. So that would be super interesting. King Zig says, I hope that this international break will help us to get back to our normal level. Same. Carmelo says this comes down to one thing, Adiel's ego. He can't get past the fact that he messed up in hiring Garcia, and now he's deflecting by giving the perception that he will get someone else in June. You know, I think the thing about getting someone else in June, I mean, he's at least not committing to if he got Tudor and Tudor was only going to come with a 1 or 2 year contract, it would have excluded the possibility to upgrade in June. At least he's giving us the chance to upgrade. He might not have anything fixed and ready right now, but for me this is positive news. For me it's a message that says, okay, this season it might not go according to plan, but I fully intend from this summer onwards to correct the situation. If he was happy with a coach of the caliber of Mazzarri or Tudor for the long term, we should be more worried. So this, I think, is a positive thing. Um, Payman Daigar says Mazzarri in 2011 was a different era. Football has changed. Ancelotti, Garcia, and Mazzarri are outdated. He may get along with players, but the modern game is complex. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like the I would add Mourinho in there and all that. I know that football has changed, and it really has. But this is what we were saying about Spalletti as well 2 years ago when he came in. When Spalletti came in 2 years ago, we were saying how, oh, he hasn't coached in 2 years. The last time he coached, it was a disaster at Inter, and before that, he was only in St. Petersburg. He was at Roma 10 years before that. And then look at what Spalletti did, right? So, whilst I agree that some managers are a bit outdated, the fact that Mazzarri took some time off, maybe some time off to reflect, is not a bad thing. And let me remind you that in 2018, so not too long ago, we're not talking about 10 years ago, we're talking about the 2018-19 season, so 2, 3 years ago, Mazzarri took a very modest Torino 7 points away from the Champions League with guys like Zaza. All right. This is, by the way, this is post Euro 2016 Zaza. So this is not prime Zaza. This is Zaza who was already ridiculed online, career basically finished. He took that Torino side and put them 7 points away from Champions League football. That's pretty much what Thiago Motta achieved last season with Bologna, right? So we're talking about that level of coach. So yeah, I mean, not a complete disaster everywhere. Then yes, Cagliari was a bit of a disaster. Watford before Torino was a bit of a disaster, but it's not like it's been horrible everywhere. And or it's not like it's been nothing for 10 years. I miss Campagnaro, I do too, man. Campagnaro with the teeth guard, and always with a head injury. Man, I miss the days. I mean, guys, just for those of you that are new to watching Napoli, just Google Campagnaro Napoli, and you'll see just this guy that has always got something in his head, bleeding. It's He was a warrior. Napoli 4-1-4-8-2. With the squad Mazzari had back then, I can imagine he'll do very well with the current one. That's also true, guys. We haven't given Mazzari this level of a squad, right? Like it's just not something that he's had before. So it's it's gonna be something interesting to see. I'm gonna run a poll, guys. While I get to all your comments, I'm gonna run a poll. I just want to get a numerical answer on: Are you guys uh, pro or are you guys pro Mazzarri? All right, and then it's gonna be a yes or it's gonna be a no. And while I do that, I'm also gonna change this picture. And I saw this proposed starting 11 by Eurosport. Let me resize it. This proposed starting 11 by Eurosport, which I wanna just put out there. Um, this is if Mazzarri decides to play with a 3-5-2. I don't think he's going to play with a 3-5-2, by the way. At most, if he wants to play with three at the back, he's going to play with a 3-4-2-1. So there would be Osimhen up top by himself, like how Cavani was. And behind him, I think you would have Kvara and either Politano or Raspadori, in my opinion. And then the four midfielders would be Di Lorenzo on the right, playing how Maggio used to play. The two in the middle, it would be between Anguissalo, Botka, and Zielinski. And on the left, you would probably have Oliveira instead of Mario Rui. But, anyways, I couldn't find online formation that resembled that. I found this one. It's an idea. It gives you guys an idea, and maybe this could be what he proposes. So let's see. It's worth just putting out there. Guys, there's a lot of comments that I still haven't get to. Do you think Napoli will get top four with Mazzarri? I do. I do believe we're gonna get fourth. Not so much because Mazzarri is gonna make us play this amazing football, but because I just can't see Lazio, Roma, Atalanta having these amazing teams that are gonna get points consistently. I feel like I feel like they're just as bad as us this year. And honestly, guys, I mean, it's hard to be worse than Garcia. It really is hard to be worse than Garcia. And don't let the first 2 or 3 games for Mazzarri, get to you guys. He's had no training sessions with them, tough games. So let's wait until at least Christmas, all right? Or possibly a bit later to really judge it. Um, but we can't go for a coach just because of motivation. That's true, but there isn't anybody out there that tactically is any good. I mean, yes, you've got guys like Gallardo, guys like Zidane, but there's no way that they would accept Napoli midway through the season. Conte rejected us. We have to just accept that's how it is. You've got Tudor, you've got Mazzarri, you've got Cannavaro. I mean, these are the options you're left with. And between Tudor and Mazzarri, I don't see that much difference tactically, to be honest with you. At this point, you would go for the guy that could, with similar level of tactics, you would go with a guy that can bring extra motivation, extra experience, extra understanding of what it means to play for Napoli. Also has a good rapport with De Laurentiis because guys, Tudor and De Laurentiis, if they got along well, he wouldn't have been a coach of Napoli yesterday, but he would have been a coach of Napoli 1 month ago when De Laurentiis first made contact with Tudor. Because trust me, he made contact with Tudor a month ago as well. He made contact with Mazzarri as well a month ago. It's very clear that the spark just wasn't there between him and Tudor. Mazzarri, the father figure, come on now. Stagman73 says we just have to get over the fact that the days of Il Bel Gioco seen with Spalletti are gone. Let's just hope that Mazzarri can get us some wins, enough to get us in the Champions League. Guys, Mazzarri, you're right, is not gonna give us beautiful football. What I hope though is that he's gonna give us exciting football. Crazy football. I mean, guys, we're not gonna win the Scudetto no matter who you put on this bench today with the available managers, you're not going to win the Scudetto. So, my opinion is let's might as well enjoy ourselves. Let's get exciting football, the one that we had 10 years ago, the games that ended 4-3. I'm sick and tired of 0-0, 1-0, 1-1s. If I'm gonna tie a game, let it be 8-8 instead of 1-1. You know what I'm saying? Um, I mean, that's not how you build a good team, right? But I'm saying because this year is kind of like out the window and already and we're not gonna build anything from this year onwards because we're definitely gonna change manager in June. We might as well have a bit of fun whilst we keep the top four. But let's at least have a bit of fun. Mazzari's taking us to the Champions League semi-final. You heard it here first, guys. Mazzari is a cup manager as well. He did well for Napoli. He won us the Coppa Italia. He could do this. Do you think it is possible to win the Scudetto? No, I don't think so. No way. If if for some reason we win the Scudetto, guys, under Mazzarri this season, I mean, then I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit this channel because then it means that none of us know anything about football because there's no way that is possible. Vincenzo says, if all we needed was someone players would respect and use Paletti's methods, then we could have just made Di Lorenzo player coach. That's a horrible, horrible thing when someone's a player coach, guys. I don't think that really works, but I get your point. I get your point. In any case, 80% of you guys do think that Mazzarri, out of what was available, was the right choice. I want to ask you guys a different question. Um, Osimhen or Cavani? Let's go for let's see. Let's see what you guys think. And I guess the context here is that, I mean, you guys know, Cavani was coached by Walter Mazzarri. There's no guarantee Mazzarri is the better option. He could be worse than Garcia. It was more likely a move based on club culture and money. I think what's really interesting as well is understanding, yeah, the reason why. Not so much, it's not so much about being pro or against Mazzari or pro against Tudor, but it's understanding why was Tudor not chosen? Was it because him and De Laurentiis didn't get along? Was it because De Laurentiis is looking for someone with a bit more Champions League experience? I know Tudor with Marseille and all that, he has European experience, but that didn't really go too well for him. Whereas at least Mazzarri has Champions League experience here in Naples. Is it because of the style of play? Is it because of how familiar he is with the city, with how Napoli used to play last year? Is it what transfers did they ask for in January? That's super important. How much money did they want? Tudor, I don't think he's accepting 1 million. He's probably going to aim for 2 or 3. What's the long term plan? Tudor probably wants to build a project. Mazzari's happy to just come in and help a friend for 7 months and then leave. Mr. Fox says, I'm kind of happy about this. The amount of people panicking makes me know this is the right path. Trust De Laurentiis, man. The Angel says it will be not worser than Garcia's interview after the game. Wow. If there's anything that could be worse, is actually these interviews after the game. I was actually thinking about making a video of all the crazy interviews Mazzarri gave after the games, which are, I mean, one time he blamed he blamed Napoli not winning a game because it was Cavani's birthday. He's like, yeah, I mean, it was a tough game, and then it was also Cavani's birthday, so that, that's why we didn't. He can't be serious, right? I don't think he's gonna do that. I don't think he's gonna do that now. I think you would assume that a coach has matured, and knows that he can't be saying this kind of stuff anymore. Even though, I mean, it's not like he was young before. He was still a grown man before. And what makes me think that he's matured between the ages of 52 and 62? Well, I don't know. But I have hope, and yeah, I'm just breathing hopium right now. Do you think we'll keep 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or switch to 5 at the back? Uh, it's tough. I don't think we have the players, man, to play, you know, I don't think we have the players to play like this formation is telling us, because what happens if Nathan um, gets a cold and Ostigard is injured, for example? We literally do not have enough center backs to cover two of these three players going missing. We have four center backs. That's why we got to play two at the back. So that's gonna be tricky. At the end of the day, all we have to do is believe in our guys and stay optimistic. I like that. I like that. There's nothing else we can do. Rabona TV, what's up, my man? Should have taken expected birthdays XB into account for his pre-match tactics. Guys, it's crazy. I'm actually Googling whether it's going to be raining or not in the game against Atalanta, because another one of his famous quotes is, this one he did it while he was at Inter, but another one of his famous quotes is, yeah, I mean, we weren't playing so well. We got down to 10 men, and then it also started raining. It's like, what do you mean? And then it also started raining. Like, how is that? How is that a thing? Um, there's so many of these guys. It's crazy. So I am actually worried about his conferences this year. But it's gonna be funny, guys. Honestly, this season, I'm just gonna chalk it off as just something that, we just have to get through. And hopefully, with Mazzarri, we at least can give this team a bit of spirit, a bit of grinta. You know what I'm saying? Because under Garcia, there was no energy, man. There was no vibes. Mr. Fox says he says he'll keep four at the back, but if he does switch, will probably be three at the back. Yeah, I think what convinced De Laurentiis is probably the fact that that Tudor would insist with three at the back, which is how he's used to playing, whereas Mazzarri at least was open to playing four at the back, which De Laurentiis for him is an obsession. Would you take Nice's manager in the summer? I heard he's been doing well this season. In a heartbeat, man. In a heartbeat. I feel like he's undefeated this season. He's Italian as well. So, yeah, of course I would take him. What about formations? I mean, this is an example here. Again, no one really knows. I'm waiting for his press conference to see. Forza Napoli. That's always an important comment. Napoli. What about a 4-1-8-4-2 formation? Anyone that believes Mazzarri is worse than Garcia are making no sense at all. Agreed. Honestly, I like Mazzarri. Back then we had no defense. Guys, he made a miracle. He made a miracle with us. I believe he can I believe he can cook. We need to talk about the future now. Garcia's the past. How does Mazzarri get this team going again? Honestly, I think it's just a matter of giving the players giving the players belief back, giving them something that they're used to playing with. So I think he's gonna play with four at the back. He's gonna play a 4-3-3. Try to imitate Spalletti as much as possible. And if that doesn't work, then he's gonna try his three at the back. Of course, President is at fault for bringing Garcia, who made many mistakes. In 12 games, he was still confused about his starting 11. You know what? The starting 11 thing, I don't know, man. I feel like many of those players, it was clear who he preferred, right? I mean, it was very obvious that if Osimhen was fit, he would play Osimhen, Kvara on the left, Politano on the right. The three in the middle would be Anguissa, Zielinski, Lobotka. The wingers are mainly, the fullbacks are mainly Di Lorenzo and Oliveira. And then there was a bit of a, should we play Ostigar, Rachmani, or Nathan at the back and Meret in goal, right? There wasn't that much debating there. It was more about what do you do when you are not winning the game? Which subs do you bring on? That's when he was super confused. So I feel like Garcia knew his ideal 11, or let's say 12, 11 plus 1, but he didn't know how to use the rest of the team to his advantage. And that's really an issue. In 11-12, we had an aggressively average team with a strong forward counterattack and still beat Conte. I think Walter will be able to bring the best out of the current squad. Yeah, I think. Look, obviously, we're not a team that should be playing counterattacking football. But, if we can show that same spirit and just apply it to a type of football that instead of being aggressive in our counterattacks, we're aggressive in our counterpressing, maybe that could work. I think I'm happy for Mazzari. At least he speaks the same language. That's also important. Also important. It's not Rabona TV. So he basically just states facts. It is a birthday. It is raining. Water is wet. Yeah. That I mean, he guys, he's a smart man, Mazzarri. Um it's incredible some of the things that he said in his press conferences, but that's for a different video, guys. Lorenz Moore, who do you see taking over from Mazzarri once his spell is over? Conte. It has to be Conte. Guys, if De Laurentiis is going for a manager that's willing to accept just 7 months, it's because he's got someone big lined up this summer. I don't think that him potentially getting, let's say Thiago Motta or Palladino, who are doing well at Bologna and Monza, if that was his grand plan, he might as well have given Tudor a 2-year contract, right? I think if he's sacrificed giving Tudor a contract, it's because he's got someone really big up his sleeve this summer. Antonio Conte, he's not going back to Juventus. He's not going back to Inter. He can't go to Milan after having gone to Inter and Juventus. He's not going to Roma because Roma just cannot afford that kind of salary. We are able to save a bit of money right now by paying Mazzarri like three peanuts. So Conte has to be the play. And by the way, I don't think Conte is going back to the Premier League. He's not a type of player that would go to La Liga. Uh, Guys, it has to be Conte. I mean, what else is Conte gonna do as well? I mean, think about it. Like, where is Conte gonna go? He needs to find a team. He said in the past that he would like to coach Napoli. The only reason why he didn't come now is because he wants to have the whole of preseason going for him. So, guys, that's what I think. Let me end this chat. This not the chat, but let me end the poll. It's a tight one, guys. By the way, most of you are in favor of Osimhen, though. Osimhen over Cavani. That's super interesting. But I expected it to be super tight. Let me start another poll. All right. Would you prefer Tudor 2 years or Mazzarri now and Conte next? Tudor, Mazzarri, then Conte. If these are two different paths that Napoli could take, which one would you choose? Because I feel like this is the decision that De Laurentiis was giving himself. But maybe not. Maybe not. Slasher 4411. If we get top four without winning anything else, I'm signing for that right now. Genuine concerns about keeping top four. Yeah, that's how I feel as well, man. I mean, if we can finish this season top four after how we started, that would be already a bit of an achievement. And if you add a Coppa Italia on top of that, man, I'm seeing that season as a success. Vincenzo, Tudor was right there. Worst case scenario, if he doesn't convince, then we have to carry his small salary an extra year. Still 78 points on the table. Yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean, but I mean, I don't know. Sacking another guy? Yeah, but I see that. I see that as well. You know what? That could have been something. That could have been something. Pietro Chiaro says the previous 2 years before the Scudetto season, we were very close to winning Serie A. It's not like we aren't contenders. Mazzarri managerial record isn't something to get excited about, though. This Napoli squad is the same for the title-winning team. He should try to be in the top four. I think Mazzarri's managerial record is not horrible, by the way. I mean, look at what he did with Napoli. That you can't not consider that. And by the way, Mazzari's managerial career is very similar to what Spalletti had before. So, I mean, just saying. Just saying. Look at Allegri. His tactics are dated, but they are getting results. Cortomuso Allegri. What does Maron mean? Maron is like, I mean, if you're talking about what they say in Naples, it's like, it's Madonna, which is the mother of Jesus, but it's like when it's like an exclamation, like you would say, I don't know, like you would say "Mannaggia Maronna," which is like the equivalent of "goddamn." So yeah, it's just an exclamation. If that's the context that you're referring to. Dom BX says, "Are we live, bro?" Yes, bro. We're live and alive. Aaron I was excited about Spalletti. I don't know about y'all. Um, Michael, it really doesn't matter who the coach is as long as Napoli doesn't focus on Osimhen and Kvara as their focus and strength, and they'll keep dishing out inconsistent performances all season. Right. So you're saying that Napoli should focus on Osimhen and Kvara, and I agree, man. We gotta play. Look, an aspect that I removed. Did I remove it from the video yesterday? Or did I include this bit? But basically, I was saying how Napoli's the way I phrased it was, if Napoli's best player this season is Politano, we've got a problem because Napoli's ambition is not to have a player like Politano be your best player. That can't be our dimension, no? That's the dimension for an Atalanta, for a Sassuolo, these kind of clubs. Because, yeah, Politano's a good player, but he's not top 100 in the world. If you got guys like Osimhen and Kvara in your team, that team needs to be performing at much higher levels, and those two players need to be put in a condition where they are your best players at any given time. So that's what we need to focus on. So I agree. We need to put the focus back on Osimhen and Kvara. Dom, can you do a poll where we finish? For sure, for sure. By the way, most of you would rather have Mazzarri than Conte instead of Tudor. Let's start a poll. Where will we finish? Scudetto, top four. Um, why can't I add an extra option? I'm not even, you know what? Not Scudetto. That's not gonna be top four. Outside top four. Let's start that poll. I don't know why it only gave me two options today. All right. Did you guys hear that noise? Jesse says, I don't know about y'all, but I'm still generally shocked that we got outplayed by Union Berlin twice. Off topic, but I know. Yeah, guys, I mean, that was that was rough. That was rough, and that was not even a month ago. Caesar L says, as long as the man that doesn't make things worse, they are better. The disaster with the problems with Osimhen and Kouar needed to go away, and a new page needed to be turned for the health of the team. I agree, man. We need to put, as we just said, Kvara and Osimhen at the center. We have to be pro Mazzari for the sake of stability at the club. Yeah. At the end of the day, man, I mean, it's like what you said on Twitter, right? Like, we might not be 100% all on board with this, but let's let the field do the talking, right? And then let's regroup after a few games and see where we're at. But there's almost no point in criticizing someone before they've even had their first training session, right? We haven't even got him to speak yet. Mr. Fox says, also consider Walter has been brought into mostly all failing teams with sacked managers and expected to create miracles. The guy at one point was considered the best coach in Serie A. Guys, that's true. Guys, when he left Napoli, he didn't get sacked, by the way. Napoli finished second in the league with a team that had a total salary base of like 40 million, which is nothing. And he was wanted by the best teams. Ended up going to Inter, didn't work out, but that was Inter banter era. That was Inter post Mourinho, post Benitez. Like it took them, 10 years to get back to any kind of success where they needed to change management twice. I mean, this is not the Inter of today. This was an Inter that was going through so many different problems. Then he went to Watford, which was shambolic team. Goes to Torino, doesn't do too badly. And then with Cagliari, it didn't really go well with him. But I mean, that team as well was pretty bad, guys. That team. Chiro says hiring Mazzarri, if it's just until summer 24, is a good move. As Dom said, he's been with the team before and did fairly well. He's simply a caretaker for now. Italiano or De Zerbi is what ADL wants. I think he wants Conte, guys, but I don't know. I don't know. We will get new staff for tomorrow's. Will we get new staff for tomorrow's training session? Yes. I just hope that the athletic guy that Garcia brought on goes away because I don't think that this team has been running enough. It's not something we've talked about a lot, but it's just my opinion. I feel like if we have lapses in concentration like we've seen in recent months, I think it's also because we can't physically be at a good level for long enough in the game. Lackland says if we play three at the back, we would need investment and a new center back in the January transfer window. And I think, honestly, man, that's something that I think we need regardless. Because even if we have four at the back, sorry, two at the back, two center backs, you guys know what I mean. Even if we have that, I don't think we can go on much longer with Juan Jesus, guys. I mean, like, come on, that can't be our guy. Manads, even if it's as a fourth choice, like we need better. Manas is our defending is our biggest weakness right now. That part Mazzarri is going to fix. Maybe, maybe because Mazzarri, there was some crazy score lines, man. Crazy score lines. Pietro Chiaro says every team but Inter is very beatable this year. We have to have consistency throughout the remaining season. If Mazzari is able to galvanize the team, it will be a success. And I think that's all we need, man. We need a spark in this team. We need a spark. Put the focus back on Osimhen and Kvara, and boom. Dom, what do you think of reporting Mazzari is? What do you think of the reporting? Mazzari is only there since he accepted only 7 months until the new season, so Conte can take over. Yeah, I think that's the truth. Um, I would hate to have Conte as much as just about anyone. For this squad, just defending it would be like what happened to Tottenham all over again. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like Conte in Italy would do well, regardless of what team you give him. I would love exciting football. So, I'm personally not a huge fan of Conte, but I also think that he would bring success. So it wouldn't be exciting, but it would bring success. Exciting football or good results? Hmm, tough choice. But results at the end of the day, no. We will win Scudetto. No way. No way, man. I'm getting you a coffee if this happens. Slasher says Pro Mazzarri was the right choice to finish off the year and just accept short-term contract. It's a write-off season. We just need top four. Pietro says, "Is this the question? Who do we like better, or who had the bigger impact?" Referring to Osimhen and Cavani. It's more just neither. It's about who's better. You could like someone more and him be worse. By the way, I feel like I am way behind with the comments. Let's get some of the newer ones. Um, so if your comment wasn't picked out today, man, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of you guys here, and it's impossible for me to read everybody's. Pietro says Jose Mourinho to Napoli would be amazing. A winning mentality needs to be established again. No way, man. Mourinho, I don't think he's got a winning mentality. No, Conte does. Mourinho, no. Mourinho, no. Mourinho, oh no. I don't like the guy. I think Mourinho he's not got a winning mentality, man. Um, he's look. The problem with Mourinho is that at the end of the day, he makes everything a bit of a show. Conte, to some extent, Mazzari as well, but I feel like Conte, I don't know, man. He seems a bit more practical than Mourinho. Mourinho, I feel like he's just a bit of a showman right now. He would have been ideal. Not sure I want Conte. So this is interesting. The whole like Conte versus non-Conte. Meanwhile, we have Mazzarri. Chiro says Adiele went into Italiano's locker room last year to congratulate him and his team on how well they played. Adiele has much admiration for Italiano. I think Italiano could be an interesting choice as well. I think that he's the natural successor to someone like Sarri, someone like Spalletti. So it would be going back to that kind of football, which could be interesting for ADL. But we've also seen how fragile they are defensively, Fiorentina, and they're super inconsistent. I mean, Italiano, basically, his season consists of beating Napoli and then being useless. That's pretty much it. And then two finals last year. One against a very modest West Ham, didn't win. One against Inter, having gone ahead, and he couldn't keep the result. I mean, that's not very good from Italiano. I mean, when you play a final, if you go ahead, man, you can't be losing the game 3-1 or something like that. Like you can't. And you can't be losing finals to West Ham. Come on. Osimhen recently had some family-related issues. He disclosed to Mikel Obi's podcast that one of his siblings and her husband betrayed him. Anyways, he was optimistic about the Scudetto. Yeah, we commented those issues a little bit. It's always a bad situation, no? When money gets in the way of family, it's unfortunately something that happens when you have a lot of money and maybe that money came very fast. And yeah, there's I think a lot of people, not just with Osimhen, but with footballers in general, that take want to take advantage of the fact that their friends are footballers or that their family is footballers, and sometimes you get these issues, man, and it's a bit of a shame when that happens. But hopefully he resolved it. Hopefully, his family can regroup a little bit, but oof, who knows? Dom is asking me, Dom, important question, so I gotta read this one out. How many points we get out of Atalanta, Inter, Real, and Juve for our upcoming matches? I feel like we're gonna get a win against Atalanta because we're gonna get that new manager boost that tends to happen, and this is gonna be the type of games that Mazzarri loves, going against a team like Gasperini's, and just two guys fighting it out with three at the back. It's gonna be interesting. Um, it's gonna be a dirty game of football, man. It's gonna be exciting. This is gonna be guys. Atalanta Napoli is gonna be like a 3-2, a 4-3, something like that. It's gonna be insane. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Inter, I feel like Inter, man, they're the best team in the league right now. I At the same time, it's gonna be Mazzari's first at home, so we could get a little bit of a boost there. Real, I don't think, I don't think we can get a result there, and then Juve, guys. If there's one Napoli coach that knows how to beat Juventus, it's Mazzarri. So I'm predicting 3 wins and a loss. Am I am I getting high off of hopium? Yes, I am. The hopium is strong. There's a lot of hopium in the air right now, but you gotta hope. You gotta hope, man. You have to. Thank you, Dolls MJ, for the 4.99 donation. Optimism is hard right now, but I believe the future is still bright. I love it, man. I love it because at the end of the day, man, sometimes you got to make short-term actions to save the long term, right? Uh, this is the conundrum, right? Sometimes it may seem like getting a caretaker manager means that we're only thinking about the short term and like, oh my God, what's happening with the long term? But no, actually, maybe this whole thing about just having a coach for 7 months and then starting clean from this summer, that's what's that's what Napoli needs long term. Um, and who knows, man? Maybe Mazzarri brings back a bit of spark also to the fans as well, and we carry that forward for the next few years. I don't know, but I just feel like sometimes focusing on this next 7 months only could be the best thing for the long term for this team, as opposed to going for Tudor and being stuck with a contract for 2 or 3 years, and trying to build. And also, it's not just about guys. The thing with Tudor, let me go back to this. The thing with Tudor, right, is not just about, oh, you can fire him after a year. What's the problem? If you give a guy 2 years contract, you're kind of obliged in the winter transfer market to start buying players that he wants. You build a team around what he wants. So then it's not, you can't just then fire him after a year and expect that we'll just fire him, nothing happened. Like, you would have had to give him something a bit more concrete in this transfer market and the next one. So maybe that's something that De Laurentiis wants to do. Maybe he says, look, I just need someone to get us to the end of the line. I don't want to make big investments right now in January. Maybe just buy one center back and that's it. Um, and then we'll do everything we need to do, starting fresh, starting clean from this summer. And I'm going to have the next 7 months to prepare for that without waiting to see, oh, will Tudor get top four or not, you know? Because at the end of the day, if you go for someone for 2 years, you can't start planning for this summer now. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he'll do well. And, maybe that would compromise our long term. I don't know what you guys think about that. Is this making sense? Am I making sense? I hope so. Slasher441, thank you, man, for the donation. Says thanks for the live and interesting discussions. Forza Napoli sempre, but please no Conte. Lol. Okay. Okay, I promise you, man. I promise you I'm not going to tell ADL to get Conte. Not sure I have that kind of power over him, but you know, if I ever do bump into him, I'm gonna make sure that I don't do that. Let's get some more comments, guys. I'm gonna go with random ones at this point. I'm not gonna go chronological again. Like I won't be able to read everybody's comments, so I'm just gonna pick out the ones that, I want to talk about. Attacking trio of Kvara and Raspa behind Osimhen, Zanoli as right wing back. That's I want to talk about this because um Zanoli is a player that has been severely, severely penalized by Garcia. He's a player that this summer Sporting Lisbon wanted him. Sporting Lisbon are a decent team. We valued him about 10, 15 million. So he's a good player. Probably Sampdoria's best last season when we loaned him out over there, and he's been severely penalized by um, Garcia. I wonder maybe if Mazzarri plays three at the back, if he could put Di Lorenzo as one of the three center backs and Zanoli right wing back in some games. Not in all games, but in some games. Would that help his growth? Maybe, maybe not. Depends how often that happens. If it happens maybe 2 or 3 times, probably doesn't matter at all for his growth. If that becomes a bit of a theme, then who knows? Maybe that's a new asset that Napoli acquires, or not acquires, but a player that Napoli is able to help grow a little bit more. But then it would mean sacrificing Di Lorenzo a little bit and basically turning him into a right center back. Who knows? Farioli is very defensive. Nice has 13 goals in 12 games, 4 against. We need an attacking coach. Yeah, Farioli is the Nice manager that we talked about earlier. I think he's doing well though. I mean, I believe that winning a title, you need a good defense. That's step one. And there's a lot of coaches that they kind of fail this first step. I think you can build a very good team all around, which includes attacking, if you have at least a good defensive base. I think it's like what I'm trying to say. It's much easier, I think, to go from a good defensive setup to then improving the attack, as opposed to saying I have great attack, now I have to improve the defense. Because at the end of the day, guys, like my view about football in general is that the coach is needed for the defensive aspect. Like this is something that Sarri used to say, and I agree with. He said, "Look, in defense, you got to follow a system. You got to follow distances. You got to know like what everybody else is doing. It's like when the ball is here, you move here. When the attacker does this, you do like it's very like if this then that. It's like coding almost. Um, Whereas in attack, it's all about the creativity of who you have up top and the talent of who you have up top. So you don't tell Kvara what he needs to do. When Kvara has the ball, he knows what he needs to do. You let the artist paint. You don't tell Da Vinci what he needs to paint, you know? Um, so I feel like there's two very different things, the attacking phase and the defensive phase. And a coach who's able to make sure that the defensive transitions are effective, that you don't concede from crosses, that players are not running through you, like you've done your job. If you're not able to score many goals, it's probably because you don't have a good striker. It's probably because you don't have very inventive players going forward, and that wouldn't be the case for Napoli. But I love getting Payman's opinions today because um, they're very different, and I like having a spectrum of ideas to discuss about. Rahmani did play with three at the back at Verona, and then he became a guy that plays at four at the back. So you can see players adapt. Nathan played three at the back as well in Brazil. L.K says if he can bring Kvara and Ozzy back to life, nothing is impossible. As Kvara especially. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. He's got to focus on those guys. Hoping Mazzarri plays Rui more than Garcia did. Yeah, but I think for the style of play that Mazzarri has, someone like Oliveira is a bit more suited. Someone that just runs a bit more, has a bit more, physicality. Vincenzo says after 2 years in Brighton, the Zerbi with a Napoli history could really be the one in the summer. Him and Alonso are alike in the modern attacking managers. Yeah, the Zerbi, especially last year, did really well. This year it's been a bit more tough for him, but at the same time, they had to sell McAllister, they had to sell Caicedo. Like their team has been severely affected in midfield, and he still managed to do an excellent job. So yeah, De Zerbi would be incredible for Napoli. Vincenzo also says, what would you say to Di Lorenzo in the back three and put Lindstrom at the right side? See, I think more, as I said before, if Di Lorenzo goes in the back three as a right center back, I would put Zanoli on the right. I think he's got a bit more of that characteristic to play a wing back. And Lindstrom, I see him a bit more as a number 10, to be honest. And he's going to be competing with Politano, Raspadori, and Kvara for a spot behind Osimhen. There's going to be those four fighting for two places. So that's gonna be interesting. Never trust a Juventino. Tudor is a gung ho Juventino. Yeah, that's a risk, man. But Conte as well. If we play attacking football where we score 3 or 4 goals in a match, then we'll be able to be in better position than fourth. If Mazzari brings us good football, he'll be the best signing. Potter is an interesting choice, but I'm not too sure how well he'd adjust to Serie A and the culture. Don't blame him for the Chelsea disaster, but was Brighton a flash in the pan with Potter? At the end of the day, Potter was the one that kicked off the whole Brighton playing great football thing. That Zerbi took it to the next level. But really, Potter like put in the foundations. I think that Chelsea team last year, that was that would have been tough for anybody, man. I mean, they were full of injuries. Their um, their owner changed. Tuchel didn't do well there. He came in midway through the season. Even Pochettino right now, he's not doing that well. I mean, guys, he beat Spurs, what was it, 4-2 or 4-1 or whatever it was last week, but Spurs were in 9 men and they had a chance to equalize the game. The last two goals for Chelsea came in the 90th minute. Um, he did well against Man City on the weekend, but he conceded 4 goals at home. So you could say, oh, yeah, great result. You scored four against City, but why are you conceding four? And you could say, oh, but you're playing against City. But still, I mean, this is a team that spent like $20 bazillion, right? You should be able to play a bit tighter at the back. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. By the way, I love talking about other leagues and other teams. I follow them, so that would be it'd be nice. It's nice sometimes to do these lives and go a little bit off topic and talk about other teams, which is nice. It's kind of why I do them. And we don't have to be speaking about a specific game today, but we can be speaking about coaches and how they play. So it's nice. I like this. I'm gonna start with this one. What ultra group do you like more, Curva A or B? I'm a bit more of a B guy, simply for the fact that the place where I go to watch the games traditionally has always been Tribuna Nisida. Um, because my uncle used to have the abbonamento in Tribuna Nisida. So when I was younger, I would go with him and I would sit next to him. Um, and that group, I mean, that area of the stadium is like basically at the corner flag and it's closer to the Curva B. So I've just been physically closer to Curva B. And I think that their chants are a bit nicer, they're a bit more fun. So Curva B. But what is my favorite chant? Guys, there's so many. Um, Especially in recent years, man. And obviously, there's the Un giorno all'improvviso, which is super nice. Um, the one that I think is the most useful during a game is the one that goes segna per noi, gonfia la rete, that one. That one's nice, it's useful, and like you can really feel that it's pushing the team. It's basically saying like score for us, inflate the net, and it just like builds. It's like slow tempo, and it builds and it builds and it builds, and like I think it really goes with the tempo of how the ball moves. So I like it. There's also the other one about the one that like I don't want to sing in front of you guys, but the one of um, Di domenica alle tre. You know that one? That one's nice. I'm not gonna sing all of it. You're not gonna get me to sing, but there's many. Don Pippo. Turns out Tudor didn't expect the deal cause didn't accept the deal because he wants weekends off to be able to watch Juve games. That's I think that wins, man. That wins. That's the comment that wins it for me. Blue line, will Gaetano get time to play? He's one who can score goals is if he gets chances. Gaetano, man. I don't think he's going to get any play time under Mazzarri. I'm sorry, but I just can't see that happening. No way I can see that happening. This is the first time I don't have any strong opinions because I don't believe Garcia was getting the best out of anyone in this club. Maybe only Politano. Turns out Tudor didn't accept the deal because he wants to. Oh yeah, we saw that the weekend off too. Would be nice if Mazzarri, in a way, orienting towards Leverkusen, both back three, just like a grandmaster in chess who studies another grandmaster that plays his opening back three manager. Well, okay. Yeah, it's a long comment, but I think I think the gist of it is that he should be studying Bayer Leverkusen, which has Xabi Alonso doing extremely extremely well. Hi guys, greetings from Castelvolturno. No way, Ivan Spaziano. So he's right there where the action happens. That's amazing. Today it's like being back to the future with this coach, but I'm scared honestly for the roster. Hope we'll get at least the fourth place champions. I think I think it's guys, at the end of the day, Mazzarri, I don't think he's gonna change too much, no, because I think it's very obvious who Napoli's best players are. And he'll know that this is not a team that was revolutionized this summer. It's a team that won the Scudetto last year. It's very clear who the best 11, 12 players are. He just needs to put Osimen and Kvara back in a position where they can express themselves to their maximum potential. The focus in these past months was a bit too much on Politano, where Garcia was basically having him play like Gervinho was back in the day. The focus needs to go back to how can I get Osimhen to score 30 goals this season? How can I get Kvara to score 20 goals this season? How can I get the best out of Lobotka and Anguissa? These are the players that need to, you know, be playing at their best level. Sarò con te. Yeah, that's a good one. Sarò con te e tu non devi mollare. That one's a good one. I go to Curva B, says Payman. Curva B is more militant. Fade and Ultras there. Curva A is younger, but 16 Ultras group. Yeah, it's a bit more fractured, the Curva A. Curva B came together a little bit in recent years. I think Curva A is better, perché amo la Maya e nella mia vita. B, best song in Quando Sare? Which one is Quando Sare? Which one is that? Problem with Curva A is they always fight with the away fans. Yeah, because they're right there. They're right next to the away fans. Passato tanto tempo. Yeah, that one's a good one. Sarò con te is all in Curva A, never signed by Curva B. Hmm. I prefer Curva B, to be honest. I want Mazzarri to become our Sir Alex Ferguson for nostalgic reasons, and then really hoping it works out. I don't think that's ever really gonna happen, guys. There's no way Mazzarri is gonna stay there for like 10 years, 20 years. That would be an incredible story. Are Lindstrom and Elmas getting playtime now? Uh, I don't know, eh? I think Lindstrom has more chance than Elmas because the way I see Lindstrom is I see him I see him as someone that can play. I think he's more suited to playing as a you know what, maybe Elmas as well. Because maybe this could be where Elmas shines, right? As a number 10, but with let's say two number 10s. So if you've got Osimhen and then two number 10s behind them, maybe that's where Elmas shines. I don't know, man. But it's gonna be interesting because if you put Elmas, let's say you put Elmas and Kvara behind Osimhen, then you're letting go of Politano, who's in form, Lindstrom as well, who you paid 30 million for. It's gonna be interesting. I I think I think we might play with Kvara and Lindstrom, to be honest. I think Elmas, like, I think the club has already a bit given up on Elmas. Like, we bought him a few years ago. We've amortized the cost of the transfer, and now we just sell him, and whatever we sell him for, it's going to be a profit. Napoli 41482. Thank you, man, for the $2 donation. Let me put that back up. It says Marcelo Gallardo would be the ideal manager. Yeah, but he's waiting for Barcelona. Gallardo's waiting for Barcelona. He's waiting for Real Madrid. He comes from Argentina, wants to go to La Liga, Spanish speaking football. He's waiting for that. He knows that Ancelotti is leaving Real Madrid this season. That's what he's going for. Maybe if Xavi leaves Barca, even though I don't think that's happening, that's also something he's going for. For me, he's going for La Liga. Have you heard of a Napoli restaurant called in London called Da Maria, which has an amazing atmosphere on match day? Yes, I've been there. I've been there. It's great. I love it. It's in what do you call it? Um, what do you call that area? Jesus Christ. I've lived in London for a few years. It's on the yellow line. It's on the yellow line. Why do I keep thinking Piccadilly, but it's not Piccadilly. It's the other area. Near Paddington. Near Paddington, right? Um, Portobello. Portobello. Madre mia. I can't pronounce your username. But I assume that you're Georgian, and you ask, what roles do you think Osimhen and Kvara should have? They should be the center of the project. Osimhen, obviously number 9, and I would love Kvara to come out of the come out of the wing a little bit and play a bit more centrally. I was saying last year how that's how Kvara should improve. That's what he didn't do, for example, against Milan, and we suffered. He did really well when he did that against Sassuolo at the start of the season, when he did that assist for Di Lorenzo and he was playing centrally. I really do think that Kvara playing as a left sided number 10 is going to be devastating. And I hope that Mazzarri figures that out and plays him there. Because, guys, the potential of that guy is incredible. Incredible. Like, we've seen 20% of Kvara. I'm convinced about that. I'm convinced we've seen 20%. He needs to be playing in that position. Brian Autumn says, how would you feel about Enzo Maresca from Leicester City coming in? They're top of the table right now, and he was an assistant to Guardiola, so he could continue the attacking style of play at the LA1s. Yeah, Leicester's doing well. They're dominating that league. But let's face it, guys, Leicester, I don't know how they got relegated last year from the Premier League, but that team has a lot of Premier League level players still playing for them. I mean, there's no there's no other there's no other alternative for them other than to be top of the championship. So I don't know to what extent it's down to Enzo as opposed to just the quality of players that they have. Yeah, I think he would need a bit of an intermediate step before going to Napoli. I like the chant that says "Ti amo, ti amo, ti amo." That's nice. Nice words. Ivan says, I live there. Thanks to your comment, I agree. Surely he could give strength and support, energy to the team, but tactically, I don't know. Yeah, that's the main issue, no? The tactics aspect of it. We don't even know if he's gonna play three at the back, five at the back, four. He's never done four. But this team, as we said, I think more than the numbers, they need to find their confidence in themselves, no? And someone that will protect them in the press conferences, someone that also just it just also removes a bit of pressure, I think, getting Mazzarri, right? I think if we had gone for a different manager, the pressure to perform would have been there a bit more. With Mazzarri, I think it liberates them as well a little bit. I think it could be good because he can definitely get the best out of teams. I mean, I want to give you guys a statistic, no? But let me see if I have it still with me. But let me see. How do I find my bookmarks? Let me go my bookmarks. All right. The points average of Napoli managers in the past, okay? La media punti. When Donadoni was in Napoli, his points average after 19 games was 1.11. Okay, let me put it here, okay? Let me All right. Donadoni 1.11. All right, let me make this smaller. All right. Donadoni 1.11. Mazzarri Mazzarri was 1.74 after he took over. Like, let me put for context Garcia 1.75 and Spalletti 2.1. By the way, Sarri, let's put Sarri as well. Sarri was 2.16. Sarri was something ridiculous, guys. Sarri was unreal. All right, you know what? Let's do a chronological order. Why am I doing it like this? Mazzarri 1.74. After that, we had Benitez 1.7. Benitez was 1.87. Then we had Sarri. So let me put Sarri. Let me put Sarri here. You guys can see, no? What's happening on the screen? No, not there. We had Sarri, then we had Ancelotti, 1.82. Then we had Gattuso, 1.89. Then we had Spalletti and Garcia finally. Okay. Now we can have a bit of a discussion, no? These are points average. Let's make that very clear. All right. Points average. Now, let's talk about it. Notting Hill, yes, Payman. Thank you. Thank you, man. You didn't have to donate as well this time. Oh man. Thank you. Um that's the one. Jeez. Damaria is a 10-minute walk from me. Notting Hill, exactly, exactly. Do you know any other places like Damaria? Man, there's a lot of um, good Italian places to go to, but I would say that that one is the best one to watch Napoli games. It definitely has the best vibe for sure. But if you want like just food recommendations, let me know. Anyways, um, let's let's go. Let's go back to let's go back to this, and then I'll get your comments. Let's go back to these points averages. No, now you might be thinking Mazzarri and Garcia have very similar points averages, but that's not how you interpret this table. All right. Remember, numbers without context mean absolutely nothing. These numbers need to be interpreted based on what? Based on the team that's available to these managers. Now, the team that Mazzarri took over from Donadoni was averaging 1.11. 1.11. That's basically relegation levels, or just a bit higher. That's like, I don't know, 46 points a season, more or less. That's horrible. And he managed to bring it up by 0.63 points per game. That's a huge jump. That's the biggest jump. Oh, I don't know why Benitez it says 187. Let's fix that. It should be 1.87. That's the biggest jump between managers. That tells you that Mazzarri is able to extract the best out of his teams. The team that we had with Aronica, Cannavaro, and Campagnaro, man, that's the best they could do. 174, which is not bad. Which is not bad. And if you consider actually his best periods, it was higher than that because we got to our record points tally in one of his season. So what I'm trying to say is that this guy is able to come into a team mid-season or early in the season, like he did back in 2029, he's able to come in, identify the root cause of a problem, fix it, and get the best out of that team. That's literally what we need him to do now. That's all. Unlike Garcia, who took a step backwards, right? Garcia took a step backwards of 0.35, which is crazy. Which is crazy. But yeah, um, Spalletti also did really well. I mean, Sarri, look at that, 2.16. But by then, Sarri had a team that was, I mean, it had incredible players all over the field. So, players that are still making the difference now internationally as well. Mazzarri, guys, the players that he had, I mean, they were not even playing for their national team before they were, you know, taken to that level by Mazzarri himself. Literally. Like, man, who was Lavezzi before Mazzarri? No one. Cavani before Mazzarri? Cavani was playing right wing at Palermo. He wasn't a striker. So, Mazzarri is able to get a group of players, identify where they need to be playing, and plays there. Um, Dolls MJ says minus 0.35 from Spalletti is all I can focus in right now. But don't think of it like that. Don't think of it like that. Think of the difference in quality between those two teams. All right. I can't put all the blame on Garcia. Adiel is pulling the strings. He's trying to save his ass right now. Yeah, I mean, obviously Garcia, like this points average, by the way, of Garcia is pretty much what he had been doing his whole career. You could argue he has a better team now. So the same way we said it has to do with the team that you play, like that has to be part of the context. You could say that he underperformed, so that's also partly down to him. But yeah, I think as you say, the majority of the blame has to be with Adiele. Do you think Napoli will ever be important on European stage and become something like Juve or Inter? Well, let's stop there. Juventus on European stage? Come on, man. Come on. Don't make me laugh. People are sleeping. Uh, Anyways, do you think it'll be like something like Juve or Inter, or it'll be more of a talent selling club like Dortmund or Monaco? Guys, I don't think we're either of those two things. First off, Dortmund they sell talent as soon as it comes without having those players reach their peak. That's very different from Napoli. Like when Napoli sold Lavezzi had his best year in Napoli. When Napoli sold Cavani had his best year in Napoli. When Higuain left Napoli, Higuain had his best year in Napoli. When Koulibaly left Napoli, Koulibaly had his best year in Napoli. Players that when Kim left Napoli last year, I mean, he was better last year than he is this year. Players, Fabian as well. Fabian left Napoli, his best year was with Napoli, not at PSG. When Napoli decides to sell players, they sell them when they've already reached their peak, and maybe they're not necessarily going to decline, but they're not going to climb anymore. They're going to either plateau or go down. Dortmund, on the other hand, as a player is going up, they sell him because they need to, and then the player keeps doing this. That happened with Aubameyang. That happened with Haaland. That happened with Lewandowski. It's happening a lot. Now you could say that didn't happen with Sancho. Okay, but anyone goes to Man United and they suck. That's just, a rule nowadays. But it's very different, right? They don't extract everything out of that player. They sell him as soon as the valuation passes a certain level. No, if like for them it's like a very simple formula. It's like if the return on this thing is gonna be 2 or 3x or whatever, we sell. Napoli is different. Napoli says, can this player keep growing? If the answer is no, then they sell him. But then also, like we kept guys like Insigne, like Mertens, like Koulibaly until they were in their 30s. So we have no issue with keeping players. Zielinski, we have no issue with keeping him. Osimhen, man, if Osimhen was at Dortmund and an offer for 200 million comes, he would have left by now. But at Napoli he stays because we're not a selling club. Uh, Eventually we have to sell players, but that's every club. What we don't do is we don't splash on players everywhere in the field. We only do that for our center forward. We've done that with 40 million for Higuain. We've done that for 70 million with Osimhen, minus 20 for the players that we gave Lille. But we don't spend money elsewhere. So that's why maybe there's a bit of a misconception about what we are. But I don't like when people think that we're a selling club because we don't. Um, are we ever going to be super relevant in Europe? I mean, we came very close last year. Last year we had the chance to go all the way to the final of the Champions League if it wasn't for a really bad game against Milan. I think we could have should have beat Milan. We could have probably beat Inter as well. But for that kind of stuff, man, it takes a bit of time. And I really thought that this year could be the year that we make that further step, but it seems like that's not gonna happen. So I think we're gonna be that's gonna be a very interesting. It's gonna be a very interesting thing, no? Like, what is Napoli gonna be? Um, what kind of club? And I think the answer is it's gonna be a club very similar to, I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be a club very similar to Arsenal, man. Like, our dimension is we push for top 8 in Europe. If a great season happens, why not? Let's go for it. Let's win, try to win the Champions League. Why not? But we should be aiming for top 8 in Europe. And in the league, it's not about winning every single season, but it's about being in the title fight every single season. Um, I think that's the same dimension that, for example, Arsenal is in, as opposed to maybe, yeah, as opposed to, I don't know, a team like Bayern, right, who is expected to win every single season. So that's what I think, to be honest. But I don't know. Simo 1926 Napoli says, not gonna lie, Mazzarri gave me a burst of enthusiasm since I've always looked affectionately at his times with Cavani, Lavezzi, and Amsic. I need this feeling after these last unhappy months. I agree, man. I agree. It's the same kind of thing, man. At this point, man, I just want to have fun for these next few months. Bring me back the 4-3 results. Bring me back the crazy comebacks. Let me enjoy watching football. And, let's not focus on the Scudetto. I think that's gone. Let's just get fourth spot. Let's make it a crazy one. Let's make it fun. And, yeah, let's vibe again. Oof, Fabian. He's looked brutal for some PSG games. Yeah, really bad. Ivan says, I think that De Laurentiis has Conte in mind for June. And, of course, with Victor's contract this summer will be very revealing. That's another aspect about. We spoke about Conte earlier, but the contracts is something that's important. Is Osimhen, Kvara, Zielinski, are they going to sign new contracts if they don't know who the manager is going to be next year? Uh, that's that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be interesting. If I was a player, I would want to know who the next manager is before signing a long-term contract. We know that managers they can leave even if they have big contracts, so the players shouldn't rely on that too much. But I mean, literally having no idea, that's that's very tough, very tough. But if De Laurentiis can convince Osimhen, can convince Kvara that hey, Conte is coming in the summer, and gives them reassurance, maybe they stay. Yeah, maybe they stay. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna I'm gonna end the live here. All right, it's super late. I want to thank all of you guys for having joined the live. It's been mega fun. It's been mega fun, guys. And make sure that if you are still watching, smash that like button. And guys, just keep supporting Napoli, keep the enthusiasm high, and just wait until at least Mazzarri speaks to make your first opinions about him. Let's wait for the training sessions. Let's wait for the first few games. They're tough games, but let's see how they go. And then we'll see. We'll come back in a few weeks time and and we have a better idea if this was good or not as a decision. But I really feel that we will know if it's a good or not decision in June. When Mazzarri leaves, we will know if we are in Champions League or not, and we know which manager has come to replace him. If Conte or someone of that level replaces Mazzarri, then we can say this was worth the wait. If we have Mazzarri, but then De Laurentiis goes and gets another type of Garcia afterwards, then maybe this was not worth it. But anyways, guys, um, yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't make a video for tonight. I know some of you like the shorter formats of 10, 15 minutes, but I don't know. I just wanted to have a conversation with you guys. So, yeah, why not? And I have a lot of time in the next 12 weeks to do something fun with the videos. So, yeah, we will definitely get one for Mazzarri one way or another. Anyways, guys, have a good one and good night or good morning if you're in Australia. And see you guys next time. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.